Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Contender Series prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for Contender Series 2025 Week 4. So yeah, Contender Series 2025 Week number 4. So yeah, let's get into the predictions. So yeah, let's roll on down. First fight we have in the featherweight division, we got Tommy McMillan versus David Mgoyan. And yeah, it might be the toughest fight on this card to call, to be honest, but I'll go McMillan, low confidence to beat Mgoyan. Not super impressed with either guy. I know a lot of people like to glaze both these guys, like, oh my God, both these guys are going to do this and both guys will do that. But honestly, I might, if you had to bet, like, either got to do anything particularly special, like, oh, these guys could go on to really have a real attempt at the belt. Yeah, I would say that. They both could be, easily be role players in the division, like, probably at least stick around for like 3-4 years. Both of them easily could do that skill-wise, but and talent-wise. But as far as to say like a top 5 fighter at any point or anything like that, it's way too soon to say that about the guy based on that skill set. McMillan is definitely a lot older, even though he's still young. He's like 27. Mgoyan is only 21. He looked like he's probably 32, but he's only 21 years old. A very old-looking young man, or mature-looking young man, however you want to say it. But yeah, not super impressed with either guy. Mgoyan definitely has far more upside given how young he is. But I do feel like McMillan has the backing. He's a training partner of Sean O'Malley. And also, Americans have not been doing particularly amazing. I see this fight being particularly close. So, yeah, all that being said, they probably, if the fight gets real close, they're probably going to look to lean to the American here. Maybe even a draw, but most likely probably going to lean to the American if the fight's very, very close. And yeah, I'm not super impressed with either guy. And yeah, I got to go McMillan here, low confidence to win. I think they're very evenly matched everywhere. McMillan is a bit bigger. He is more mature. Neither of them have fought particularly great competition. And McMillan, being 27, you would expect him to have at least fought like probably 2 good guys before he tries to jump into the UFC. So I know that guy. That guy was in the UFC for a couple of years. He kind of downtrended, but at least he was in the UFC and he dropped out. And then McMillan got to win over a guy like that. Oh, this was another highly touted prospect. Oh, this was a D1 wrestler and he was like 6-0 and McMillan subbed him or something something like that. But neither of you guys have any real impressive wins on their resume so far, so that's another, I guess, red flag for both guys. But yeah, reason why McMillan, he's bigger. He's like 5'11". Mgoyan's 5'9". Neither of them are small lightweights. McMillan is particularly a pretty big middleweight. I mean, I say middleweight, pretty big lightweight. And it kind of shows in his movement as well. He's not like as fluid as you would want him to be. His striking not as fluid. He's not as poppy as flowy. They're probably going to get Mgoyan. Mgoyan's not the most technical, quick, slick striker either. He's more of a wrestler. He does got some power in his hands. He can be a little bit explosive, but as far as striking, I don't feel like his striking is all that fluid either. So I can see McMillan being able to address the grappling Mgoyan, using his size against Mgoyan, and make Mgoyan have to work for a lot of positions and threaded submissions on Mgoyan as well, and be able to scramble wheel with Mgoyan, and make it a very tough fight. I feel like I trust McMillan to be smoother with his striking going down further in the fight. I feel like neither guy has had so much time in fights. But I could trust McMillan probably that striking start to really flow. Because I feel like as a bigger guy in the weight class, you got to deal with the speed of guys. But once they fight start to slow down, especially training with O'Malley as such a high-level striker, I feel like that's when his striking will really start to show. Probably in the later rounds. But yeah, close competitive fight. But I do think that McMillan with his wrestling background, what is he, like a 4-time state champion or something? So he's a legit wrestler. So I think he'll be able to address the grappling McGoyan, make it very tough, make this fight very close. And kind of pick it away a little bit at the later end with his striking and using his length and size. So in this one, I got Tommy McMillan via decision. Now to the next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Eduardo Henrique versus Antoine Ho. And how do I feel about this one right here? As I'm going average confidence, Eduardo Henrique to beat Antoine Ho. Oh yeah, I just don't really see. I mean, Antoine Ho got a fighting chance for sure. But I feel like flat out, I think Eduardo Henrique is just better everywhere. Better striker, better grappler, probably bigger too. Let me just make sure I'm right on that. Not a little bit shorter, but even though he might be in shorter or whatever, he probably gonna look like the bigger man out, especially when he start to pick apart Antoine Ho. I see him picking apart Antoine Ho, and I see I'm gonna say late first round TKO for Eduardo Henrique. So in this one, I got Eduardo Henrique via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, we got Nallo versus Samuel Silva. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going to go low confidence Samuel Silva to beat Nallo. Let me see. Nose getting stuffy again. But anyway, going low comp to Samuel Silva to beat Mandel Nallo. I was actually super impressed with Mandel Nallo early on in his career. I'm not gonna say early on, but at least in his Bellator career early. That's when I started watching him. And really when I stopped watching him too. But I was impressed with his Bellator run early on. And then it just like you always see these guys with a lot of talent. Like, oh, this guy, I think this guy could be a future at least title challenger in Bellator or a future champion. Or if he keeps getting better, actually he's got in the UFC and doing things. That's how I was feeling about Mandel Nallo. And then he just started to just choke. And then it just like plateaued. He picked up some wins, but it's not like he has fought any particularly stellar competition since like his run in the Bellator. Like I said, he rebounded and he's on a winning streak now, but the spark is definitely not there as much. And now he's older at like 33 years old. Again, you always gonna see these talent come around, they're gonna catch your eye, but not every one of them is gonna turn into a butterfly, And I do feel like I haven't really seen that grit from Mandel now. I feel like when he's pressured and pushed, I feel like he breaks. When he's able to be long and flowy and he picks you apart, he can look like an elite fighter. I mean, I guess he does have elite skill. He does train at elite gym. But does he have the elite mental? Is he truly like the full package of elite? No, like he has the skills and attributes. He's well-rounded. He's dangerous. He's trained with well-rounded guys. He's probably an amazing training partner. He probably go to the gym. He probably one of the best guys there. But when it comes down to actual fight, he probably one of the people that when it gets tough, like he just checks out. But yeah, I feel like Samuel Silva's tougher. Like he has power to hurt him. And I feel like he could push him and push Nallo to spots where he does choke it. But again, Nallo's very live here, but yeah, I just don't see it. I feel like Silva's younger. He has similar height to him. If actually he's taller. Usually Nallo's a taller fighter. He's 5'11". Samuel Silva is a taller fighter here, about 1 inch at 6 feet tall. He got power as well. I don't feel like he is as technical of a striker as Nallo, but I feel like he could again push Nallo. He's well rounded as well, so he can push Nallo in the striker, push Nallo in the grappler, apply that pressure on him. As the fight goes on, I can see him finding that shot and cracking Nallo and put him out. I can see Nallo looking good early and, maybe touching Silva up a bit. But I feel like once Silva starts touching Nallo, I don't feel like he's going to be able to rebound. I feel like the position that Nallo could put Silva in, if Silva put Nallo in those same positions, I don't feel like Nallo's going to be able to rebound. So that's where my lean goes. Overall, I feel like Nallo's the more technical guy. But again, fights aren't all about technique. At the end of the day, you take away technique, what are you doing? You're fighting. You're boxing, it's a fight. It's a fight. Maybe grappling and stuff, that's not really a fight. There's fight aspects to it, but in a fight with real fists and real, no holds bars, basically, for the most part, at the end of the day, it's going to devolve into a fight at some point. And, yeah, especially when the skills are evenly matched or it starts to go deep into the fight, it just turns into a fight. Like, the skills start to go out the window a little bit more. And it's like, who wants it more? Who's going to be able to scratch and scrape? And Nallo hasn't shown to be such a great scrap and claw and scrapper. So I feel like Silva's going to be breaking down. And I see a third round TKO for Samuel Silva. So in this one, I got Samuel Silva via third round TKO. Now to our co-main event we have in the middleweight division. We got Theo Haig versus Cezary Oleksiejczuk. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Cezary Oleksiejczuk to beat Theo Haig. So I don't know if the curse or the flaws of his brother is going to come out on Cezary and he's going to just get submitted on the ground here against Theo Haig. But I really can't respectably back Theo Haig here. He's a sizable guy, like 6'2" middleweight. Solid grappling skills. But his resume is not respectable at all. Cezary Oleksiejczuk has fought elite competition. I'm not going to say elite. He's fought respectable competition, like respectable competition outside the UFC. And even some guys like, who he just fought. His last fight was a guy that was in the UFC. Probably, Tom Breeze was one of the brightest prospects in the UFC at one point. And, world-rounded guy, tall, big, good striker, good grappler. Not the toughest guy, but yeah, at least a guy that was credible in Tom Breeze. Very credible fighter at both middleweight and welterweight in the UFC at one point. And in PFL at one point as well. And, at least Cezary's fighting respectable competition. Theo Haig is like, no, he's still fighting record padding competition. He hasn't fought one respectable opponent. And I see his grappling and stuff. I don't feel like his wrestling is that phenomenal. I feel like against Oleksiejczuk, either brother, I feel like the offensive wrestling has to be better. Like, the grappling skills are there for Haig, like submission skills, but his ability to get in the mat, I feel like it's taking a little bit stiff, a little bit slow. I don't feel like he's super strong. If he's like super strong, you could afford to be a little bit stiff. Like Glover the Sheriff, he might not be, his wrestling technique might be kind of wonky and awkward, but he's freakishly strong, so he can kind of get away with that. Like, you can see some people that their wrestling might not be as polished or whatever. But yeah, I don't feel like Theo Haig's wrestling is super polished. And I don't feel like he's particularly super strong either. So I feel like it'd be hard for him to get these takedowns. But hey, if the position could be created in some way, or Oleksiejczuk makes a mistake, Haig is very dangerous on the ground. So that's definitely a concern here. But again, I still feel like Haig has the full package. I feel like his wrestling is all the way there. And the biggest flaw for him is the fact that the level of competition has been particularly mediocre, beyond mediocre. And that's expected, but if you're going to jump up and fight a guy like Cesare Oleksiejczuk, there's definitely a case where, the UFC wants guys getting UFC and they'll give them another mediocre fighter on the Contender Series to fight to get there, but they aren't giving him a mediocre opponent. If anything, they give him an opponent that's better than him. So he has fought nothing but mediocre competition. Now you take a big step up in a fighting guy that I would say Cesare Oleksiejczuk is UFC level. I'm not saying he's elite, but I would say he's credible enough to fight the UFC. The guys that Haig has fought could never even get a short notice call to fight the UFC. Like the guys he's been fighting have been guys that I don't know what to say. These guys that be getting knocked out in the gym and nobody knows who they are. Like part-time gym punching bags that the UFC would feel even embarrassed to even think to put them in the UFC on short notice or what. Matter of fact, the UFC, if 100 of those guys were available and it was a big fight on the UFC event, they still wouldn't even put those guys. That level of competition, like, yeah, the UFC would lose all credibility if they put that level of competition in the UFC. Then he jumped up to fight Cesare Oleksiejczuk, a big step up competition. Gotta go Cesare Oleksiejczuk. I do think that Theo will hold a good account for himself at least early, but then I think that all fades out the picture, and then early mid second round Cesare Oleksiejczuk puts him out. I think he'll be picking apart most of the fight, but Theo Haig gonna be trying to keep himself into the fight. But again, early mid second round, yeah, that's just all gonna be out the window. Cesare Oleksiejczuk is gonna have be picking apart. My nose getting stuffed up like I'm a. Yeah. But it is what it is. But yes, early mid second round TKO for Cesare Oleksiejczuk. I'm yapping too much. All right, main event time. Real short prediction. Jack Congdon versus John Paul Lebosnoyani, or whatever his name is, welterweight division. Going average confidence, John Paul Lebosnoyani to beat Jack Congdon or Condom or whatever his name would be. Yeah, Jack Congdon, this doesn't look like his level of competition is beyond mediocre. Kind of the same, matter of fact, the same as that competition that Haig has been fighting. Matter of fact, Loki, I think they do have literally fought the same. Both of them have fought the same guy, or one of the same opponent. They share opponent, so they both been fighting the same level of mediocrity. Yeah, the same level of mediocrity. Jack Condon's striking looks very amateurish. This looks very uncomfortable with everything he does in the cage. And again, this is like a guy that's still trying to get his adult legs. He still got those Bambi legs as far as his skill set and his MMA ability. And John Paul Lebosnoyani, looks like he's a credible level fighter. Like he looks polished. He looks like a credible fighter. Like I'm not saying he's no elite guy, but he just looks like he's more put together and more experienced and sharp, a lot sharper. But Connor still looks very rushed. He still looks very rough. And I think John Paul is going to show that skill gap and that experience gap and that talent gap that Congdon has not fully all pieced together yet. And I think he'll be able to pick apart on the feet. And I'll say first round TKO for John Paul Lebosnoyani. So in this one, I got John Paul Lebosnoyani via first round TKO. And so that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for Contender Series 2025, week number 4. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.